Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema. Tosin here, your regular host. A couple of weeks ago, we had a guest on the show because it came about because I was having a discussion with somebody about Once a Time in Hollywood on Facebook. They piped up, they started speaking. A friend of mine from a while back, as you will hear, and so I invited her onto the podcast because she started listening, quite like what we were doing. I invited her onto the podcast to give her point of view on it. We never actually got round to show playing the entire thing because, as I said, the interview I did with Holly, for it is she, Holly Nelson, uh, Nessling, ended up being almost as long as the podcast itself. So we have cut this aside. We've given her, and we decided to give this whole episode over to the rest of the interview with Holly. Do enjoy and do find us on either iTunes and leave us a review if you like what you're hearing, or get in touch with us on Netflix vs Cinema on Twitter and also on Facebook. And who knows, you might be the one who actually gets to come on the show and talk to us about the bad films you like as well. Imagine that. The pinnacle of your life that will be. Anyway, please do enjoy this interview with Holly.
Let's get ready to rumble!
And do you realise that come October, we have been friends for 20 years?
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. I've found myself having thoughts like this a lot more recently. I'll be talking to somebody and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that blah 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 happened," and you do realize I was like, "Wait, that was 20 years ago. How
Exactly.
how have I known somebody for 20 years? This is not possible."
I think officially we may be grown-ups now.
Parents were grown up, and by the time they were my age, they like had a house and like a mortgage and all this other stuff. I have none of those things. I'm just
I do at
about
least have the flat.
yeah. I'm just about keeping hold of the wife. That's
That's
a
it's a good enough base achievement,
that,
really.
yeah. That I feel like that's just about enough where I've got it to. That's just enough where I've got to go to that level.
Yeah, I mean, I've kept the cats alive fairly successfully. I feel a reasonable sense of achievement there. I mean, okay, so they're mostly self-sufficient, but, I like to think I make some input into their lives.
Well, yeah. Well, cats. I don't know. Cat. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they're, 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 they're
let me put it this
easygoing.
way. Well done on being a good pet for your cats. That's
Yeah,
all.
I think that's exactly it. I'm very unpopular with Callie at the moment because I got her down off the top of the wardrobe to play with her brother because he was annoying me and clearly needed company.
Yeah, you see, now that's the
This
thing.
is my life.
You see, that's the thing, right? I've always had issues with having a cat. Having a cat have a vendetta against me. I feel like that's one of the scariest things in the world. If a cat has a vendetta against you, and I don't want to have one in my house having a vendetta against me. So,
No, my two are generally pretty good. I mean, Callie wheezes on the bed, which isn't great when she gets upset.
yeah.
So I might possibly have to sleep under waterproof sheets. She's sitting looking at me, butter wouldn't melt.
Uh,
Aren't you, miss?
well, you see, now this is the thing. Okay, so I'm Nigerian, grew up in Nigeria, and still have this mindset of essentially for us, if we were going to have a pet, the pet had to have a job. So if you're going to have a dog, it was going to have a guard dog. So not many people in Nigeria have cats. So I still have this sort of like thing from early life where I'm like, cats, what are they doing in the home? They're not supposed to be in the home.
What's the point of it? I don't understand.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
What is this
I'm
thing?
like, why is this animal walking around the house? Do you realize there's an animal walking around your house underneath your roof? I still have that. I still have that thing where I'm like, okay, cool, I get it. It's different. It's
Can't do this.
it's like, okay, I get it. It's different. It's a different culture, different way. Over here, people like the animals in the house. I need to accept that. But there's still a bit of there's still a bit in my mind, someone that goes, no, no, ah.
They do serve some purpose. They catch flies, not very effectively, it must be said. And they torture them and then leave them half alive, which is not very nice. But given flies' central nervous systems aren't that evolved, yeah, I can only worry so far.
Well, they catch flies.
Yeah,
Well, then
badly.
I have no problem with that. Flies.
So,
If I could eradicate one animal with absolutely, I was like, if I could eradicate one animal and be damned with the ecological consequences, it would be for flies and mosquitoes. Those two things.
yeah,
I
yeah,
have a
I'm with
home.
you there.
I have a home office which I am speaking to you from now, and every now and then a fly gets in, and sheesh, that sound. It pretty much
Oh,
sends me to a murderous rage.
yeah, yeah,
I,
I'm absolutely with you there. Oh,
I just want to find something to kill it with. I just want to kill. I'm like death to all flies. I don't understand why you guys exist. I do not understand
what you
what you are.
need is a plug-in fly catcher with a weird blue light behind it, and that actually does a good job of catching the bastards.
Yeah. I would. Let's see. Christmas is coming up
Now,
soon. Yeah.
they're
I'll be
only
like,
£40.
I'll be like Christmas present, Claudia. Christmas present. I would like something that kills all the flies who have the temerity to venture into my airspace. That's
Exactly. This is perfectly reasonable. That is not a weird present request at all.
all right. Cool. So I guess we both have to make some sort of we have to make some sort of thing of getting back to work at some point. So we should probably start
Yeah.
talking films.
Yes, you are probably right
We
there.
should probably start talking films. So, all right. So, thank you, Holly, and thank you for coming onto the podcast. Thank you. Welcome to Netflix versus Cinema.
No, thank you.
Thank you for joining our little gang, so to say. As you have realized, we are small enough, and we are sort of like a small enough gang that once anybody gives us any kind of attention online, we're like, oh, cool. Would you like to be our friend? Would you like to come onto the podcast? Really? Yeah, we would love to hear what you think. So, and you are the latest benefactor or victim, depending on how you look at it, to actually sort of notice it and then come into the podcast. But this is because I think we met at university, as we were talking earlier, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And funny enough, while we were at university, we never really spoke about film, or we never really spoke about our love of film. And it wasn't until afterwards that through Facebook that we started realizing, oh, in a second, this person kind of knows what they're talking about, or that's me talking about you. I have no idea what you
Yeah.
thought when you
Well,
looked at my stuff.
I have to say, I think your wisdom is greater than mine.
Why? Thank you. You are too kind. You are too kind. So what we want to do is we wanted to say, oh, by the way, you know our super a super listener Nina that we keep talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she says hi because you know her.
Say hi back.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't realise that was the super listener we were talking about.
yeah, super Lisa Nina Remtula. She was like, hang on a second, how do you know? So, and so we had to sort of get on the charts and start figuring out. Okay, wait a second. If we go back and that's funny. It was like a scene in an Avengers Endgame where we're like, do you realize at this one point we were all in the same place?
Yes. It was a long time ago.
It
You were
was
young.
it was a long time ago. So, but what we decided to do is that we thought we'll get you on and we'll get you to do your own special potted Netflix versus cinema thing. So, talk to us about what it is that you have seen in the cinema recently, compared to what it is that you have seen on what you've seen at home recently, and give us a rating and tell us which one do you think has won in your personal, experience, life, whatever this week. So,
Okay.
have you got something for us?
I have. I've
Okay.
actually, in honour of this, I've actually been bulk viewing. So cinema over the last week. There was a double header of Good Boys
Oh yeah.
and Crawl. And
Okay.
obviously, I know you talked about Crawl last week.
Yes, and we talked about Good Boys the week before, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a little behind the curve there.
Oh yeah.
And I've managed to watch one film on Netflix and a series on Amazon Prime. So Netflix film, Falling in Love.
Oh,
Now, I
good
hate
Lord.
rom-coms.
Good Lord.
I loathe rom-coms. I think they're a thing of evil. I don't find them funny. I don't find them interesting. But I thought this is a Netflix original, so I'm going to grit my teeth. I can do this. And the answer is yes. I made it through the entire film.
Yep.
It is wildly predictable. The base premise is a young, successful interior designer who's having a brief career lull and is not quite sure where her relationship is going. Wins an inn in New Zealand in a competition.
Yes.
I cannot explain the logic of that, but that is nonetheless what happens. And off she goes to New Zealand to refurbish this inn, and there's a delightful young man, and the
Yeah.
usual rigmarole, and
Fish out of water, comes to a small town, gets charmed by their
yeah,
ways, blah, 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 blah.
absolutely. It was a far better watch than I expected,
Okay.
which was, to be fair, my expectations were so low that wasn't a great achievement. But it had a certain amount of charm to it.
Yep.
I managed to vaguely care about the characters, only a little, but
But it's enough. It was more than you were expecting.
yeah, exactly. I was assuming that I was going to have zero interest in them. And when things, took the obligatory, ups and downs of all entirely predictable rom-coms, I thought, oh, that's nice, or oh, that's sad. I can observe that it is without actually feeling any of the emotion. So that was an interesting experience.
Oh, well,
My other
but
home.
here's
Oh,
okay. Now here's a hypothesis for you, because
okay.
yeah, sometimes I've been talking a bit on the podcast about how as I'm growing older, either I'm that how my film watching experience is changing slightly. Do you think that as you're growing older, you might be getting a bit kind of like, I hate Ronco? Oh, that's kind of nice.
No, you see, I
Without
think I'm
without
going in the other direction. I think the older I get, the more I go, oh, for heaven's sakes, what a waste of time. It's it's like when the review of Love Actually came out, oh, however many years ago, that pointed out all of the things that were fundamentally wrong with it, and exactly how creepy it was. And I read that and thought, yeah,
well,
this is
to be fair, that's mainly down to Andrew Lincoln.
not exclusively. If you think that I'm going to fall in love and propose to somebody whose language I don't speak, that's odd. I have never had a full conversation with you, and yet I think you should turn over your life for me. Strange. Not normal
Well,
behaviour.
well, well. I know people who've done that in real life.
Yeah, but
So
probably not in quite such a creepy way.
well, he did go and learn her language, but never mind. So
And then, asked her father if he could marry her.
okay, fine. Okay, if you're gonna go with if you're gonna go with that angle, then yeah, we have issues. But
Yeah, a little bit
I
odd.
find that happens usually when you go back in time and you look at any film, and
Yeah, that's true.
you're like, oh,
Yeah, so
whoa.
wrong. It's Dirty Dancing,
Oh
very
yeah,
odd film with hindsight.
yeah.
Pretty Woman. Oh,
There's a lot of films that when you go back, it's because, for instance, I talk about how I love the sort of 1950s era of Hollywood. But you go back then and
yes.
you look at a lot of those films, love the films. But if you try and look at them with a modern lens, then you're like, it's one of those things where, and I know some people complain and say, oh, you're just trying to give these people an excuse or give them an easy get out. But it's one of those things where you look at it and you do have to go, well, it actually was a different time.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
an element of understanding.
yeah, it's like I look back and I look at Laurence Olivier blacking up to play Othello, and I'm like,
Oh,
what? and
so wrong.
as much as yeah, so wrong. But as much as I hate to have to be like, well, it actually was a different time.
Yeah,
People thought that was okay, but and thankfully now we don't.
it's like that at that point of can you suspend your views of the actor or the director and view the film in its own right.
Yeah, yeah. If you
Um,
said at this point in time, this is what was going on, can you now say, all right, fine, we will take that on. We will accept that. It's whether you
yeah,
can do that.
and then look at the film on its own merits
Yeah.
rather than the just automatically judging it by the standards that we have today.
By the hopefully more enlightened standards that we have today.
Yes, yes, I like to hope so anyway.
Yeah.
So yes, I think the fundamental message here, though, is that I think rom-coms are weird and a bit creepy.
So rom-coms are weird.
Yes, rom-coms are definitely weird.
All right, so this film because this film stars Christina Milian, who many people, I think, early noughties, around about the time we were at university, actually would remember because pop dress. She had that one video where she looked like she was naked in mud.
Yes, that was very strange.
And it's like, it was very strange, and it's like, oh, what's she been up to recently? And then all of a sudden she shows up in a Netflix movie called Falling In, and I think we need to point out there's a pun in the title.
Yeah.
Because it's Falling In, not spelled I-N, it's I-N-N. And it's one of those new Netflix originals that's been shoved. Like, I keep talking about things that when you switch onto Netflix shoves them in your face and goes, hey, how about this? You want to watch this? Want to watch this? And most of the time you're like, no, not really.
Yeah.
But this is something that came up, and I was like, just because my Claudia, my wife, is of that age where she would have been a massive Christina Milian fan, I'm like, maybe we should watch this and see what she's doing with her life, because I didn't even notice it was her. Claudia saw the trailer and was like, is that Christina Milian? And I was like, I don't know.
Unexpected, yes. So
yes.
that's element of retro. So what did you think of it?
Oh, I haven't watched it.
So it's just on the list.
It's on the list, and I haven't watched it. It hasn't gotten me to that point where I'm like, you know what, I think I've chickened out, quite frankly. I think each time I've tried to press play and I've been like, but I know exactly what that film's gonna be.
Yeah, you could write the script out yourself in 15 minutes.
Yeah. So with films like this, you know what it's going to be. You know, you know what it's going to be. You know what the beats are going to be. So all they really have is some hope to get you in the characterization, or to do something in there that's a little bit different or a little bit new. Do they manage that?
No, they don't. There's possibly a very, very small touch in the relationship with the ex-boyfriend, but
okay,
it's a very small touch, and I think I'm probably overselling it even with that. So no, it just does exactly what you expect it to.
Does it get anything extra from being set in New Zealand? Because sometimes you can have this is a straight down the line, straight rom-com story, but because it's set in a new setting that we don't usually get to see that much on screen, it brings something new.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair observation. It's got slightly different characterizations as a result. You've got it's not the moving down to the deep south type, returning home sort of thing.
It's not Sweet Home Alabama, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's absolutely not Sweet Home Alabama, but it's not a million miles removed from Sweet Home Alabama either.
It does look very much like that.
It's definitely got something for that. It's got beautiful scenery as a result, and New Zealand really is beautiful. So it's definitely got that in its favour, but it could equally be, if it weren't for some of the turns of phrase and the accents, it could almost be New England as well.
I've got you.
So, yeah, maybe a touch, but not enough to lift it from mediocrity.
Oh, okay. So if you were going to rate this, what would you give it?
If I can go with a half, maybe 2.5, but probably more like a 2 in all honesty. I want to be generous to it, but I only really that it only lifts itself up for the scenery.
All right. Okay. Cool. But all in all, not as bad as you expected.
Yeah. So I was expecting a half or maybe a 0. So
I'll just leave it at that.
Exactly.
All right, and so that was for your Netflix stuff, and you said the stuff you saw at the cinema was stuff we'd already spoken about. But we are always really interested to find out, like when one of us sees a film and then the other one goes to see it, somebody else goes to see it, whether our views tallied up about it or whether we disagree. So you said, carry on.
So I went into Good Boys expecting it to be bad, or at least not very interesting. It started out, and I continued to think, oh, this is tedious and I just don't care. But as it progressed, I actually found myself crying with laughter, which I
Oh wow.
really didn't expect. So it proved to be a real joy to watch
Yeah.
because, I mean, it was ridiculous. It was comfortably ridiculous, though, and it wasn't trying to be something it wasn't. And
Yeah.
I think that made a real difference. So would I rush to watch it again? No. Um, do I expect to get it when it's out on DVD? No. And I'll rewatch almost anything. So that's, you know, I'm not sure what that quite says about it, but it was funny. It was very, very
It-
funny. And it
yeah.
handled, I would say themes, but that's kind of overselling it. It handled things that that were quite adult in
Yeah.
but when being dealt with by children, that didn't make it inappropriate, that just made it funny. Uh,
All right, go.
so,
Gotcha.
which I wasn't expecting either, because some things can go either way. And you looked at it at the start and thought, oh, this is. But I think I would probably give it a 3.5, maybe a
All
three,
right.
three and a
Good.
half. As I say, mostly because it exceeds my expectations. It's a good watch. It was fun.
Oh, that's good.
Um,
That's good.
how does that
What do you
compare?
think? I think Sean gave it a 3. Hang on, I'll pull up my spreadsheet, my big spreadsheet of scores to see what we've given what. But what would you say about the charge that has been leveled at it by quite a few people, myself included, that essentially just looks like let's make super bad, but make them younger.
I have to admit to not having seen Superbad. So,
Oh, you haven't seen super bad? Okay.
no. So I will have to watch it in order to give that comparison, but I suspect it's going to be a fair call. Uh,
Uh, did you see Booksmart?
yes, I'm trying to remember,
Did,
and I think so.
all
Damning,
right.
damning
Okay.
indictment. I clearly wasn't blown away by it. Let me double check
Okay. Cool. Because
IMDb.
yeah, because it's one of those films that, and it seems to happen every couple of years, where everybody seems to universally rave about this thing, and I'm sitting here thinking, I don't think I get it. I don't think I get why this is so great. So, because it's the second film this year before Good Boys, that I felt it could be good. Oh, this is super bad with.
Mm,
So, Booksmart felt to me, what on the surface it's a lot deeper than Superbad, and it deals with things, images. It deals with things about being like a young woman and all that kind of stuff that I would have absolutely no insight on.
mm.
So it deals with all this, but on the surface of it, it feels like there was a pitch meeting and somebody went, okay, we want to make super bad, but this time make them girls, or and this would feel like Good Boys going, we want to make super bad, but this time make them younger. So
Yeah.
it's they have they have some serious story beats. So I was wondering about that with Booksmart, but if you
I've,
can't even remember
no,
it, I
I've
guess
just
that.
I've just flipped it up and I'm looking at it, and it featured on the list of potentials, but I remember
Yeah.
just not caring enough to watch it.
All right, cool. Yeah, hopefully this. Yeah, there's people. Never mind. Okay, let's move on. I can't figure out how to put what I was trying to say into a coherent sentence. So, so let's move
Coherence
on.
is so overrated.
It's essentially, because there was a big thing about Booksmart where Olivia Wilde, who directed it, she was released around about the same time as Avengers Endgame, which I think was a marketing dumbass decision.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
but it Yeah, but she went on Twitter and she was complaining about the fact that they're getting creamed by the big boys and independent movies don't really get anything done. And so it turned out to be this whole thing where you know how it is, how on Twitter there is no nuance whatsoever.
Yeah.
And nobody it's kind of like we shall draw a line in the sand. Hang on, there wasn't even any sand. I don't care, we're drawing a line in it.
Yes.
And we shall stand here. But that's not what I was saying. I don't care. We shall stand here because you are a blah, blah, blah. And it developed into this whole thing about you either love independent cinema or you're an evil person who loves blockbusters. And and so I was saying, like, the fact that you said you saw it and you couldn't be bothered you couldn't be bothered enough to watch it. There's a certain group of people who will get up and point at you and be like, and that's what's wrong with the world nowadays. Small, worthy films don't get in anything because people can't be bothered to see them. I don't agree, but
No,
I just thought I'll let you know.
no, I absolutely disagree because I have an Odeon Limitless Pass and
Yeah,
will go and watch pretty much anything from any
yeah,
size. It's, you know, independent, great, blockbusters, also great.
yeah.
There are some that catch you and you think, I simply must see this, and some where you go, "Mm, it's the I think I probably also find teenage girls a bit boring, if I'm honest, in a film context. I don't have enough connection with them in real life to comment on them as people, clearly. But I
What
find teen films often not hugely interesting.
do they remind you about a painful time in your life, Holly?
No, actually, I just think, no, can't really be bothered. It's, I think it's possibly indicative of what my life wasn't. That I never felt the need to say what they say they should have worked less and played more. I
Yeah.
I don't have that feeling of missing out and
All
needing
right,
to
gotcha.
have done things differently. Much more
Okay,
I'm much
gotcha.
more zen about that with age, certainly.
Oh, all right, cool. Oh, all right, okay. So, Holly, thank you so much for coming us and giving. So, all in all, I'm not sure that you've totted it up, but in this week, in your week of viewing, who do you think has won in this ever developing battle between
I
Netflix and cinema?
I think it might actually be. It's close to a tie, but I think I'm going to just about give it to the cinema because my expectations were exceeded, and because falling in love was just. If I'd chosen something else, Netflix might well have won. It was a bad choice on my part. I accept failure.
But at least you kept to our rules and you tried to get yourself a Netflix original in there.
Yes,
So well done.
and I will
Well
continue
done.
to persevere.
Well done. Well, do keep letting us know what you think. Yeah, keep letting us know what you think online. I will get you back on. Well, I'm sure you heard last week's episode in which we said that we definitely have to do a bad shark
Oh
movie
yes,
special with you and Sharon. I'll figure out
absolutely.
the technical things to get you and Sharon talking at the same time on something
She
because
also
you and her.
she missed out avalanche sharks in her list of really bad shark films. That is
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
true gift.
But then it's not. Because she mentioned that I mentioned that you said that as well. But I love the fact that you both had Ghost Shark up there.
Who wouldn't? It's one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Even when it's one of those titles that if you stop for a second to think about it, you're like, "What?"
Yeah,
Ghost Shark. But hey,
it's
I'm
wrong
sure
on
somebody
so
had
many
fun making
levels.
it. I'm sure somebody had fun making it. All right, I'm gonna let you get back to work now. Thank you so much for agreeing to get onto the podcast.
It's been a delight.
Yes, and we look forward to more of your comments and everything like that on further episodes. And we do look forward to your bad shark movie special with Sharon.
I am very much looking forward to it.
All right.
Good to
Okay,
speak to
cool.
you.
Same, yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Take it. Bye.